Nerd Street.
Nerd Street.
What's up, guys? It's Nintendo. That was good. That was good. Now we're gonna be pop stars too.
Jump on it.
Jump out it. All right, guys. Nintendo in the house. We got Brent the Great.
B-Rent in the hizzy with the
Nizzy.
nizzy.
Oh, you're still rapping
Nizzy.
too.
Right.
We're gonna get a lot coming our way. Record deals.
Right.
MC Brent's in the house. And you know what else is in the house? Our favorite cartoons growing up. All right, this is a cool one to me. The cartoons we watched growing up as kids, I don't know about you guys, really are kind of the elements, building blocks, if you will, to what you kind of look for in your entertainment as far as the medium goes for cartoons, movies, stuff like that. I know it set the basis for what I like today. Means a lot to me growing up. I remember each cereal I used to eat, you know, while watching my favorite cartoons. So many visual memories from my childhood. Pretty important stuff to me. We're going to go with top 5 today. I didn't know there was so many cartoons in my childhood. So pulling up a website of like the top 50 so I can get reminders was really fun to do. I was seeing stuff I totally forgot about. What do you think?
Well, you know, it's funny because when I was thinking about this list, I realized that really the whole purpose of children's cartoons is to sell toys.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, when I was thinking back to my favorite cartoons and all the toys I had, and
That's all you
whatever,
wanted.
yeah, and it was just so. And it's another funny thing because I'm a fair amount older than Nick. So when we were kind of talking about some of the things on our list, and he goes, "Oh, you never watched so and so," and I was like, "Dude, I was 17 years old at that point." You know,
Dang, I forgot. I forget, man. He looks so young. Look at him, guys.
Right.
You don't think that. We don't really, you know, I didn't know you were 74.
right? Yeah.
Jeez.
Back when I was your age.
I used to watch black and white Mickey Mouse.
Right.
Steamboat Willie was his name back then. Yeah.
All right, so on to the list.
You
Okay.
gonna go first?
Yeah, I'll go
All
first.
right. Number 1. No,
So
you start with
number
number
5.
Yeah.
Number 5, and this one's kind of an obscure one. Mask.
Like the Jim Carrey
No,
mask?
not Jim Carrey. Mask was kind of like it was basically secret agents, like, and they had vehicles that would turn into other vehicles. Like there was
I
one guy in
remember
a
this.
motorcycle
I
that would turn
remember
into a
this.
helicopter.
Yeah, that's right. I remember this mask, and they were kind of like they were Navy SEAL type dudes.
Yeah,
yeah.
And their bad guys was Venom. That was the name of the organization they were against.
Okay, this is coming back
And
to me.
so yeah, it was.
This is why this was going to be fun. That's one I totally forgot about and did not see on the list when I was looking for good stuff.
Right. Well, I can't necessarily think that it was a very good cartoon, but it had a lot of meaning to me, and I had the toys and everything like that, and
Okay.
so I would I made sure I'd watch all of that. So
And that's number
That
5.
was my number 5.
Okay.
Number 4, an old classic, Looney Tunes.
Of course, who doesn't like Looney Tunes?
Bugs Bunny, Roadrunner. Now people say, well, what about Animaniacs? What about that Tiny Toon Adventure?
Tiny Toons I like
Again,
better. That was my favorite.
That was pushing the level. I was probably like 13 or 14
Oh,
when
okay.
Tiny Toons
Couldn't be
came
down
out.
with
So, you know, I was too cool to watch that stuff at
Gotcha.
that point. So,
But yet he's a nerd watching cool stuff today, right?
right. Oh, yeah. I don't worry as much about social judgment, you know.
Not these days.
So, but the original Looney Tunes with Wile E. Coyote and all that kind of stuff, that was
my foot.
growing up through my entire childhood. And recently, we watched, me and my kids watched some of the old Looney Tunes and like Bugs Bunny.
Oh, like before we were born?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like the
okay.
really old stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Elmer Fudd was fat, and,
Oh, man.
and
Politically
Bugs
incorrect.
Bunny was really a bully.
He was.
He was
huh?
really
He was real
mean,
mean to him.
yeah,
right?
and he
Wow.
just did it just because. Like this episode that we watched, Elmer Fudd gets a telegram that his uncle. Elmer Fudd's right about to shoot Bugs Bunny. And he gets a telegram because they find him out in the middle of the wilderness, of course,
Okay.
and says, "Your Uncle Louie has died and left you $3 million. But you can't. Your Uncle Louie loved animals, and you can't hurt animals, especially rabbits.
Especially wabbits.
Right, especially rabbits.
Mm-hmm.
So he lets Bugs Bunny go, and he heads home.
Okay.
And it's funny because as he's heading home, like there's signs in the background, buy war bonds and stuff like that. That's
No
how
way,
old
that's
this stuff-
crazy.
And he gets home, and Bugs Bunny has moved into his house.
Whoa. And he can't do anything
he can't
about
do
it.
anything about it. He's like, please leave. And he goes, if you touch me, I'm gonna call Uncle Louie's family and whatever.
No.
And it was just
What a bully.
Yeah, he was a total bully. So, but yeah, Looney Tunes was hilarious. Even though now as an adult I can see what a bully Bugs Bunny was.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3.
Like you bully me all the time, man.
Totally.
No
yeah.
wonder you picked up on it when you watched the cartoon.
Right. Number 3, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
This is huge. This is a big one.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Turtles in a half shell. Turtle power. Yes, we just did that. That just happened.
That did. Although you said turtles in a half shell. It's heroes in a half shell.
Heroes in a half shell. Why would a turtle be in a half shell?
Well, all turtles
Just
are,
kidding.
yeah. Anyway, I liked TMNT back before it was a cartoon, even when it was a black and white comic book, and it was
You knew about it back then?
yeah, and it was
You're
violent,
hardcore.
and there was blood and
Oh,
stuff
wow.
like that.
I always want to get a copy of that.
Yeah, it's I used to have several copies of those different comics, and then they turned it into a cartoon and kind of kidified it, and so now they weren't. There wasn't a lot of blood or whatever. They were more about eating pizza and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you know, I
Cracking
enjoyed
jokes.
that. I watched it all the time. So,
That's a heavy hitter.
yeah. Number 2, Transformers.
Transformers. I was never big on Transformers.
Oh, see, I
I know
was.
it was huge, but
You know, and this was the original Transformers. So the kind of the end of the era was when the first Transformers the movie, not the Michael Bay movie, the animated movie came out, and that's where they killed Optimus Prime. Megatron turned into Galvatron,
wow.
things like that. And I remember something in the theater. I saw it in the theater, and then apparently they changed this when they released it on video, VHS.
What?
There's a scene where Blur is trying to get Grimlock onto like a transport.
Grimlock
Grimlock was the T-Rex.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And Blur was a really fast
Yeah, I remember that.
and he's trying to push him. He's like, nice, Dino, good, Dino, get on the thing, Dino, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And Grimlock goes, me, Grimlock, not nice, Dino. Me, Grimlock, kick ass.
No, oh, he says that?
Yes. And as a kid in the theater, that was the coolest thing ever.
That reminds me of the Ninja Turtle movie. Remember when Raphael loses a sai and he looks down and he goes, damn! The whole theater, every kid was like, and I looked at my mom and she's like, it's okay, honey. It's okay. I was like, all right, cool, Mom. So I started saying damn and she's, Smet, that's not okay.
Right.
The turtles can say it, but you can't. I
So,
still
yeah.
can't say damn to this day. She'll whoop my
Right, so Mom, turn this off.
Mom, turn it off.
And-
Don't look the other way, Mom.
In post-edits, I'll bleep out your...
That'd be good, dude.
So yeah, Transformers.
What was
I
your
watched-
favorite Transformer, Rhett?
My favorite Transformer. Well, you know, depending on the time through the years and whatever, they changed. I mean, I liked Hot Rod before he was Rodimus Prime.
Okay.
I liked the Dinobots. I really liked the Destructicons.
Destructicons.
Okay.
This sounds really familiar.
The
What do they do?
Destructicons, they were like sports cars, like Porsches
Oh
and
yeah, the
Lamborghinis
red
and
one.
stuff.
That red one was cool.
And then they'd merge into
Voltron.
well, not Voltron. Voltron was somebody else.
It wasn't. This whole time I thought Transformers was the same, but then when they're together, they form Voltron. But I'm off, right?
You're totally off.
I wasn't into it.
Yeah,
so I don't
Voltron
know.
was a completely different franchise
Sorry,
and
guys.
whatever. So the first Transformers that would merge into something, those were the Constructicons. They were construction
All
things,
right.
and they would merge into Devastator,
What's that?
which was a giant, giant robot
Like
made up of
ultimate
all
form?
of them. Right.
Okay.
So then the Autobots, they came out with a couple, but the Destructicons, they were, like I said, sports cars, and each one had a force field, so they could, like, smash through walls and
Oh,
stuff like that.
wow, that'd be
And then
fun.
they merged together into Bruticus.
Whoa, it's
And he
Bruticus.
was just a big thing, but he's, yeah.
Oh, nice.
And I remember in one of the cartoons, they're like, when they first introduced them, and they're kicking the butts out of the Autobots, and the Autobots are like, "Who are you guys?" And one's like, "Well, some people know us as the Destructicons, but," and they all merge into the one. I'm also known as Bruticus.
How did that go?
Right, that's exactly
sick.
how it would
That's
sound.
cool.
I was an expert at making those.
Oh
noises,
man, that's
right?
why I had. Hey, how did that go? I really felt like we're turning into a robot here.
Right.
Little Robotronic. All right, what's number one?
Number 1, Thundercats.
Oh yeah, I remember Thundercats.
I
They were
would
so
watch
big.
all the Thundercats. I at one time I probably had every episode memorized,
Wow.
and then about like 12 years ago, they rebooted the Thundercats.
I watched it on
And-
Netflix.
I watched no, it wasn't Netflix. That was like
That's where I caught it.
Was it Netflix? Maybe it was Netflix. I thought this was pre-Netflix. Though. I mean, we're talking about like I said, 12 years ago or something. I thought this was
No man.
was like the Sci-Fi Channel or Cartoon Network or something like that.
No.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't
Maybe,
Netflix.
maybe thinking Voltron.
Maybe.
Maybe
Yeah,
Voltron.
Voltron. Yeah.
Netflix, Okay.
And the first episode was awesome. Was
Yeah.
amazing.
Okay.
I mean, they had updated the animation. It was cool
Yeah.
animation. The storyline was awesome. The characters were awesome. I loved it. And then episode 2, 3, and 4 sucked. And I was like, I'm done.
Okay. And you never went back?
I never went back.
If you 3 episodes in a row suck, you kind of know.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And then, I mean,
That's
also
too bad,
keep in
man.
mind,
That's
this
too bad.
was a decade ago, so I'm in my 30s. I've got really better things to do than catch a new cartoon every
I don't.
week.
But I know what you mean. That sucks. They got you all excited
Yeah.
with the first one. And then, like, a lot of TV shows on Netflix, first hour, first one's good, then you go and everything falls apart.
And now apparently they just rebooted them again for the Cartoon Network, and they're like little chibi guys. They're all cutesy
Oh,
and
cutesy.
big eyes and look like the Powerpuff Girls.
It
so-
looked like they came from Japan.
right. And so I'm not even gonna bother watching that because
Just buy the pop, make it move.
Right.
There you go, there's your
I'm
cartoon.
Lena,
Might as
hey,
Well,
I'm
dude.
Panthro, I'm so cool. Look
Panthro
at my
with nunchucks.
muscles.
So.
Yeah, he has the nunchucks,
He was cool.
Chitara, and
That's right. The dog. What
Tigers.
was the dog name?
Snarf.
Snarf. He was like a
Snarf,
weird,
Snarf,
like, yes,
Snarf.
Snarf. That was cool.
Yeah.
He was
And now,
dope.
if you think about Thundercats, and I'll let you get here, but I
Sure.
didn't realize it when I was a kid, but the villain was basically an undead mummy calling on the ancient powers of evil.
Really?
That was his thing. He would, because he was usually like a shriveled mummy.
Yeah.
You know, but when he wanted to fight, he would do this incantation. He'd go, "Ancient spirits of evil,
I
give me
remember
the
that.
might,
Yeah.
the muscle, the menace of Mumra." And then he'd be all muscly and whatever.
Oh,
but I'll tell
man.
you what, if there was a kids' cartoon out today that the villain was calling upon the ancient spirits of evil,
Oh no.
parents would be all up in
Yep.
that business.
They'd be like, "What is that witchcraft tornado?"
Right. Evil! Well, yes,
That's the
evil.
devil.
He's a mummy.
Oh man.
So,
the stuff we used to have could never be on the air today.
Right.
You're
I
right.
mean,
It's
even
a trip.
Gargamel from the Smurfs, he was a warlock. He practiced witchcraft.
He did. They would nip that in the butt too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that was my top 5. Take it away, Nintendo.
All right, hell yeah, that was a really good 5 there. All right, guys, so mine is a little bit different. So my number 5 is a cartoon called Gargoyles. I think it was around 1993 or 94, which would make me around 12 years old. And it was these statues of gargoyles all over New York City's boroughs, right? And they would come to life, and each one, I think there was like 5, and each one was named after one of the main boroughs in New York. And it sounds a little cheesy, but they were like really serious themes, like in the show. Like there was this girl that they would always save, and the girl would like get beat by her dad, and she couldn't go home because like she feared for her life, and her mom passed away, and these gargoyles on her building would like watch over her. She would get into like, she would understand the troubles of the city, like bad mayors, bad politics, and she would tell these gargoyles, and these gargoyles would try to fix New York. It was really, really fun, really cool. YouTube it if you have a chance.
And you know, a lot of the cast from Star Trek: The Next Generation voiced the gargoyles.
Yeah. Whoever was Worf,
Yeah.
he was like the main gargoyle. He was like my favorite one. He was cool.
To give you a little bit of context here, you said you thought Gargoyles was like 1994. You were like 12 years old.
Uh-huh.
Right? I graduated high school in '92.
Dang, that was a good year, but it's because I was so young.
I got married in '96.
I graduated high school in 2000, and you got married before I graduated high school. Oh man, you look so young. I can't believe hearing this, guys. Wow, nerds got a good skin, look young.
Right.
You know, stay a
Good-
nerd,
good
guys.
genetics,
Look
right.
like this guy.
Keeps you young.
Nerd genetics.
Nerd genetics.
Hell yeah.
Nerd
Watch
genetics.
more cartoons. You'll look like this. Number 4 is really interesting to me because, first of all, it was a super quality cartoon, meant a lot to me, a lot of memories with it. And the funny thing is, it ran at the same time as He-Man, and He-Man was really big, and everyone knew what He-Man was, but nobody ever watched Silverhawks. So to this day, I have never met anyone who has seen Silverhawks, my number 4.
You met one person. I watched Silverhawks.
You remember that?
I remember it.
Oh,
And then the only one that I remember the pilot. He played the banjo. His name was Bluegrass.
Bluegrass was awesome because he was. They were all like blue metal suits that were like skin tight, so they looked all like cool and muscular and made of metal. And Bluegrass had a cowboy hat, a red handkerchief. He had a dog, and he would just play the banjo and then fly in space and kick ass. It was really, really
like
cool.
if today they were to make a Silverhawks movie, Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, damn! Oh, damn! You called it. Now I want a Silverhawks movie, guys. That would be so cool.
About a cartoon nobody else has heard
Nobody
about
else has heard
except
about.
two nerds that do YouTube videos.
Yeah, I know. They're gonna make it just for us.
Right.
So yeah, weird stuff to me because still not too many people besides Brent and I, two ultimate nerds. Of course, they heard of it. They're cool. But yeah, no one else. So I advise you guys to check it out. Tell me what you think in the comments. I think you'll like it. Good sci-fi cartoon. You know we're all about the sci-fi here. Number 3. Number 3 was hard because I wanted it to be number 2 and number 1, but I really thought about the effect that I put on the cartoons for number 2 and number 1 had on me, and it just doesn't compare to the big effect it had, but it's still amazing. You guys remember Batman, the animated series? The one that Kevin Conroy voiced Batman, and the Mark Hamill, you guys might have heard of him, little character named Luke Skywalker he plays. He plays a little character in the Batman show called the Joker. And people say that his Joker, before the Joker we got in The Dark Knight,
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger's Joker, next to that Joker, people say this is the best Joker that there is in the business, and I agree.
Absolutely. Mark Hamill was amazing as the Joker, and I'm kind of surprised this wasn't number 1 on your list because of that.
Yeah, I know.
Love affair with Mark Hamill, but I mean,
What are we talking about? I don't like Mark Hamill.
but yeah, it was quality. I mean, I was older at the time, but I still caught a couple episodes.
Did you?
And there was
Enough to really
Oh,
realize
yeah.
its potential?
And, yeah,
Cool.
I mean, and Mark Hamill's Joker is absolutely astounding.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you haven't seen the Batman the Animated Series, I believe you can buy it on Amazon. It's the only place you can get it. So get it there, check it out. It's incredible. If you're a Batman fan, which a lot of people are, you would definitely be pleased. It rivals every Batman movie you've ever seen, guaranteed. All right, moving on. Number 2. Brent had this on his list, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, we forgot to ask each other a big question when you talked about your Ninja Turtles being one of your favorites. Who's your favorite turtle?
You know
This
what?
is huge to guys. Guys always have like their favorite Ninja Turtle, and when you're growing up, it's like the first question if you want to be the friend. Remember? Like, yeah, you can come over. Wait, hold on. Who's your favorite Ninja Turtle? Yeah.
I think it was probably Raphael.
Interesting. Cool. My that's one of my best friends out in California. That was his favorite for sure. I never understood it until he told me. Like, Raphael, actually, no one looks at him as the leader he's supposed to be. If Leo wasn't there, and like definitely would be Raph. He just has a hot head, and I always didn't know that that's how Splinter looked at him. He showed me some comic books and some episodes of the cartoon where Splinter has actually told him, "You are everything, but you keep getting mad at everyone. Otherwise, you would be the head of the entire system." You know, and I never knew that. So Raphael was kind of important to me because I didn't know how important he was to Splinter and the boys.
Raphael had such attitude.
That's what Splinter
And
said. That's
yeah.
the only thing that held you back. Yep. People have told me that in my life. Huh. Yeah. Holy cow.
So otherwise, I mean, Michelangelo was always a lot of fun because he was the one that was always skateboarding and talking pizza.
Man.
And
He said
the
the cool
nunchucks.
nunchucks. He'd be like, gnarly dude, cool dude, radical, all
Right.
the cool slang in the 90s that we all grew up saying was all because of Michelangelo, for sure.
Yeah.
My favorite, being the nerd that I am, was Donatello.
Donatello, the inventor,
The inventor, brainiac of the group. Loved him, probably because I always wanted brains. He had the cool weapon. He was the bow staff, you know. Really funny. He was Michelangelo's best friend because at the same time that he was a real smart bookworm type guy, he actually was the only bookworm that had a sense of humor. So Michelangelo always related to him, and in real life, my experiences with Brainiacs, they usually don't have a sense of humor, but he was both best of both worlds. So kudos to Donatello.
Well, what's funny is years ago there was a spin-off. It was Radioactive Adolescent Jujitsu Gerbils.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
That's
say that title again?
Radioactive Adolescent Jujitsu Gerbils. And it totally didn't go anywhere.
No, I could tell by the title.
I'm one of
that
about
wasn't-
6 people that had ever even heard of it.
Wow, I believe that. You're the only person I ever had mentioned that, but I'm glad I know that. Because now I'm going to go Google that and see what it looks like. All right, let's move on to number 1. Enough turtle power. Number 1 is the 90s X-Men cartoon. That was my favorite cartoon of all time. It was insane. All these story arcs were reminiscent of the comics, almost basically page for page, pretty much. They showed me so many new villains and Marvel heroes that I didn't know existed, that made me go back and research Marvel even more, and it was my first big step into how big and vast the world of Marvel was. It was a big stepping stone. The music was good, the art was good, story was good because Jim Lee and Stan Lee were penning the cartoon as well. It was insane. Always picked the right members that they had in X-Men. They always kept a really strong cast. So you had Gambit, Beast, Storm, Wolverine, Cyclops, and Jean Grey, which was incredible. That was a really strong 5. They even went as far as to go through the Dark Phoenix saga. Yep, it was really, really cool. Apocalypse was in there, Magneto was in there, all the heavy hitter villains, Sinister. That's how I first learned about Sinister. He was incredible. So yeah, I'm gonna have to say number 1 X-Men. I remember waking up in the morning with cereal and the song would come on, and I would just stand up and be like, yeah. My mom would come in and I would sit back down so I wasn't embarrassed to see my cereal. Because you gotta think, in '92, I think when it came out, I was still 12. That's like old enough to not be dancing around your living room, you know what I mean? So anyone would come in, I'd be like, nothing, not doing nothing, just eating cereal.
Alright, well, that's our lists, and thanks for watching. Keep up those comments, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and
One cartoon that never made it?
never made it.
X-Force.